गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः। नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Dear friends, we are in this we have completed the 11th Anuvaka in the last class, 11th Anuvaka of Shikshavalli. We have come to this Dvadasho Anuvaka. Dvadasho Anuvaka is a repetition of that mantra, that is Shanno Mitra Sham Varunaha in a slightly modified form. And after that, Shankaracharya has again started elaborating the Jnana Karma Samuchaya Khandana Vada. That is, we know that there was a big debate in those days between the hardcore ritualists, those who held that rituals were the most important thing. Rituals could not be abandoned under any circumstances. Rituals are always compulsory. So those who held that view, and then the students of Vedanta, which says that rituals are no doubt there. Rituals, they do have their place. We are not totally discarding or dismissing rituals. We are accepting rituals as a sort of primary step for purification of mind, for disciplining a person. But then that is not the ultimate. You are in the fifth class. In the fifth class, you are doing all the drill, various types of dictations, and then all these letters, and then say all the dictation you are doing. But as you grow old also, there is no dictation there. So suppose somebody likes, no, I do like all those calculations, 3 plus 4, 5 plus 6, etc. I do like it very much. So you can't be there only. So you have to grow. So that is what the Vedanta says. So there was a big debate in those days, in Shankaracharya's days. In fact, we may recall, we discussed it in the very beginning of this chapter also, when Shankaracharya was having a similar discussion. Of course, here he is presenting it in a slightly different way, in a slightly different way. So we have to recall that in those days, Shankaracharya had to contend with 3-4 types of people. That is, one, the people who totally rejected the Vedic tradition, that is Buddhists and Jains, Buddhists particularly, those who totally rejected. So that means the whole society was going in a rather anarchic way. Somebody like a gentleman, somebody like Buddha may be a sort of non-believer. But if the whole society becomes non-believers, that is not the way. Moreover, Vedic Siddhanta is very clear, and then there is nothing to dispute about that. The philosophy of the Upanishads, it is so elaborate, it is so inclusive of everything. In fact, it is so egalitarian. So such a Upanishadic philosophy is there. But then among those who were also believers, there were again 2 types of people. One is the hardcore ritualists, that is one, who held that ritual is the most supreme thing. The other type of other people were Sankhyas. Sankhyas again were dualists. They said that Prakriti and Purusha, those two are independent entities. Purusha means the intelligence, and then Prakriti is the sentient and insentient. In modern terms, you can say the sentient and insentient. Matter, mind and matter. So the mind and matter are 2 independent things, whereas Upanishad says it is only mind which is there and not matter. Mind means intelligence, not mind as a physical entity. Intelligence or consciousness. Consciousness is what is appearing as matter. That is what Upanishad says. So this debate is continuing even today. Even in the modern physics it is continuing. Modern physics and biology, they are combining, and then they are trying to find out what is the answer for this. Suppose if they are able to give some answer, then that will be the ultimate. So that will decide either the victory of the materialists or of the idealists. That is, those who say that intelligence is born from the matter. That is one view. Whereas Upanishads say that it is intelligence which is appearing as matter. It is intelligence or consciousness which is appearing as matter. So this debate is continuing. So the Sankhyas, they held that these two are independent. So whereas Vedanta says differently. So Sankhyas, though they agreed, they accepted the supremacy of the Vedas, they interpreted Vedas in such a way that they said there are two entities. So that is why Shankaracharya had to dispute with them also. So Shankaracharya had a dispute with the hardcore ritualists called Mimamsakas, the dualists called Sankhyas, and then again the people who totally negated the Vedic doctrine, that is the Bauddhas, Jainas, etc. Jaina doctrine we don't see much. Buddhist doctrine we see a lot in Shankaracharya's philosophy. So here the discussion is about is with the ritualists, the hardcore ritualists. So we were just starting the discussion. We read a couple of lines. I will repeat. Atra itat chintyate vidyakarmanor vivekartham. In order to know the clear distinction, in order to have a very clear idea about what is vidya. Vidya means Brahmagyanam. And what is karma? What are the limitations of the karma? What are the possibilities and limitations of karma? And what is jnana or knowledge of Brahman? So these two we have to clearly know. In order to know, he is putting some questions. There are 5 alternatives here. Kim karmabhya eva kevalebhya param shreyah. Can we say that it is merely by karma that you can attain moksha? Moksha means jnana and liberation. Liberation again implies that knowledge also. By mere karmas, performance of karmas, are you going to attain liberation? That is one question. Or uta vidya savyapeshebhyah, or karma as primary and vidya or knowledge as secondary. Karma as primary, ritual as primary, and knowledge as secondary. Is that alternative? Or the third alternative is ahosvit vidya karmabhyam samhatabhyam. That is vidya and karma. That is ritual, knowledge and ritual. These two have equal importance. Should we follow that path? Or vidyayava karma apekshaya. That is vidya as primary. That is knowledge as primary and ritual as secondary. Or kevalaya eva vidyaya. Or whether it is only by knowledge and nothing to do with karma, nothing to do with ritual. So these 5 alternatives Shankaracharya is posing a question, and he is taking the Purva Paksha in all these in all these situations, and then he is replying to those Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha means the opinion of the rival, what shall we say, a rival arguer, let us say. The opinion of the rival he is taking, and then he is giving a reply. So we have to read from this line. Samasta Vedartha Jnanavataha. You know, the first point he has taken up. Tatra kevalebhya eva karmabhyah syat. So that is the opinion of that is the first say alternative. Tatra kevalebhya eva karmabhyah. Tatra kevalebhya eva karmabhyah syat. Syat means moksha syat. Let us accept that moksha can be attained by mere karmas. So he is going to give, the Purva Pakshi is giving some logic also. Let us read. Samasta Vedartha Jnanavataha Karmadhikarat Vedah Krusno Adhigantavyah Sarahasyod Vijanmana Iti Smaranat Adhigamascha Sahopanishadarthena Atmajnanadina Vidwan yajate Vidwan yajayati Iti cha Vidusha eva karmanyadhikaraha Pradarsyate sarvatra. We will read the Purva Paksha completely. Jnatva cha anushtanam iti cha. Okay. Krutsnasya vedaha karmartha itihi manyante kechit. Karmabhyaschet param shreyo na avapyate Param Shreyo Navapyate.
Param Shreyo na avapyate.
Vedo Anarthakasyat.
Vedo anarthakasyat.
This is the long Purvapaksha by the rival. So he is giving too many points. Naturally, both people have to quote from the Vedas only. So whether once you have accepted the authority of the Veda, both are quoting from the Veda only. So which is more logical? So that is what is the point. So here he says, Samasta Vedartha Jnanavataha Karmadhikara. This Karmadhikara, that is eligibility or responsibility. Karma Adhikara has two meanings. That is eligibility and also responsibility. Karmadhikari, when we say, he is eligible and he is also responsible. You have come to your say office, you are eligible, but you are also responsible to do something. So that is adhikara. So karmadhikara, for whom samasta vedartha jnanavatayeva, that is for one who knows the whole meaning of the Veda. Samasta, that is the entire Veda artha jnanavataha, one who knows the entire meaning of the Veda. Entire meaning of the Veda, meaning of the entire Veda means entire Veda includes Upanishads. So that he is going to say. Vedaha krutsnaha adhigantavyaha. Krutsnaha means completely. The entire Veda has to be understood. Veda krutsnaha adhigantavyaha. Adhigama means understanding. Adhigantavyaha, it has to be understood. Sarahasyaha, including the rahasya. Rahasya means Upanishad. Including the Upanishad. Including the actual meaning of it. Dvijanmana, by all these dvijatis. By a person who is a dvija. Dvijanmana. Dvija, what is the meaning of dvija? You know, of course, people who may be listening to this for the first time, they may not be knowing. So dvija refers to, dvija, the literal meaning of dvija means twice born. We are all born once, but then there is what is called twice born. How? Because we have a ceremony and then we put on the sacred thread. So whoever puts on that sacred thread is a dvija. So putting on that ceremony of putting on the sacred thread is supposed to be giving a new life to that gentleman. So it is, in English we call them this rites of passage, R-I-T, rites of passage. So that is a term which usually the sociologists they use. So this dvijati, you see, if you see in olden days, all the people in the society except these say servants and scavengers, except those people, all other people were included in this category called dvija. Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. So these three groups, they were called dvija. Brahmana is those people who were dedicated to these rituals, yajna, yaga, etc. Kshatriya is the warrior class. Warrior class basically who were, and also the rulers. Not only the warriors but also the rulers. Warrior class, it doesn't mean only army and then ruler is different and army is different. Ruler class means, or warrior class means it included the rulers. Then the third is the trading class, the trading community, that is the dvija. Under that trading community, Gita says one line which has to be remembered by us, Krushi Goraksha Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam. Krushi means agriculture. Goraksha, that is cattle rearing. Cattle rearing means you may be a shepherd, you may be a cow herd, you may be goat herd, you may be anything, all cattle, all types of cattle, because in olden days cattle wealth was the most important wealth, particularly the cows. Then Krushi Goraksha Vanijyam, trade, all types of trade. So any type of trader, any type of person who is engaged in this economic activity, he was a dvija. So even in our childhood we have seen in villages, all these weavers, they used to have this sacred thread. Even today in several places the weavers have sacred thread. The goldsmith has this sacred thread. And then many other communities, they do have this sacred thread. But of course gradually with the advent of modernity, we are removing, including even the Brahmins are removing the sacred thread. So dvija in olden days, it included the whole section of society. Not merely one particular type of merchant class, baniya class, but the whole range of traders, it included. So that also is, we have to see. Just as education is available to everybody today, the Veda was also available to everybody. Though the teaching of the Veda was done by a Brahmin, it was available to everybody. Everybody was expected to learn, everybody was expected to follow this dharma. So Veda Krushnodhigantavyaha Sarahasyo Dvijanmana, by a person who is a dvija, this entire Veda has to be understood, including the Upanishad. The entire Veda, including the Upanishad, has to be understood. It is smaranat. It is smaranat means it is there in the smriti. If something is quoted from the smriti, we see it is smaranat, smriti. Here it is from the manusmriti. Then adhigamascha sahopanishadarthena, saha upanishadarthena, adhigamascha. It is also agreed that, it is also understood that saha upanishadarthena, along with the meaning of this Upanishad, saha upanishadarthena, atmajnanadina. Upanishadartham means atmajnanam. Upanishad only tells about atmajnanam, the knowledge of self. Then vidvan yajate. There is another statement where in Taittiriya Samhita there is another statement, vidvan yajate. Vidvan means one who has knowledge. What knowledge? Not merely knowledge of a ritual, but also the knowledge of this Upanishadartha. Upanishad gives me and tells about this Atma, Paramatma, etc. So vidvan yajate, it is talking about somebody who also has that Atma Jnana. Then vidvan yajayati, one who performs. Yajate means one who directly performs. Yajayati means he makes others perform. That is, he is a supervisor. A vidvan, he is the one who is also performing. And another vidvan, he is supervising. Vidvan yajate, vidvan yajayati. So iticha vidushaha eva karmanyadhikaraha. Vidushaha means for a vidvan. Vidvan, vidushaha is shashti ekvachanam. Vidusha eva karmanyadhikaraha. This karmani adhikaraha vidushaha eva. That is the responsibility of say performing karma, or the eligibility for performing a karma. Eligibility and responsibility both. They are there only for a vidwan. Vidwan means for an atmajnani. So that is what he says. Karmanyadhikaraha pradarsyate sarvatra. Pradarsyate means it is demonstrated everywhere. Pradarshanam, demonstration. Pradarsyate sarvatra, it is demonstrated everywhere. Then jnatva cha anushtanam. Jnatva karmani kurvita. Jnatva cha anushtanam. All whatever karma you do, you should know it and then do, not in a blind manner. So that is a very important statement. But unfortunately, I sometimes feel that we are not having this knowledge because all these mantras are in Sanskrit. If this, suppose there is some system whereby you recite the mantra, no doubt, because mantra is sacred. Mantra is something which is visualized or envisioned by a rishi, and mantra is something which is having this swara notation, this intonation called udatta, anudatta swara, and it is a powerful utterance. But then you may also translate into English or Telugu and then explain to the fellow so that he understands the meaning of the mantra. So sometimes without understanding the meaning of the mantra, the whole thing goes above our head. The whole thing goes above our head. Suppose there is somebody who is able to say the meaning of those mantras, then you realize, oh, how great it is, how powerful it is. So that is what it is. So, but here, jnatva cha anushtanam. So, in olden days, of course, there was no problem of language. Till the British people came to India, till the British and also the Europeans came to India, Sanskrit was the lingua franca, that is the link language for the entire country. Every educated man, educated means he was educated in Sanskrit. That was the picture. Every person, he was educated in Sanskrit. Every say whether he was a trader or whether he belonged to a ruling class or whatever it was, he was educated in Sanskrit. So which means he knew, he was aware of the thing. So, but only unfortunately after the advent of the British, there is a tremendous social change, and in this social change we have forgotten Sanskrit, and then this Sanskrit is appearing to be something which is strange. And then we are also getting distanced from the meaning of these sentences, the meaning of these rituals. So, jnatva cha anushtanam iti cha. Then, krutznascha vedaha karmarthaha. Krutsnaha cha vedaha. Vedaha krutsnaha. The whole of Veda, the entire Veda. Krutznascha. Krutsna is the entire thing. The whole krutznascha vedaha karmarthaha. Karmarthaha means is for the purpose of karma. Itihi manyante kechit. That also many people contend. Manyante, many people contend that kechit. Who are these kechit? Kechit are mimamsakas only. Kechit means some people. So that is what he is writing in the notes. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat Jaimini. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat means this Amnaya, this Veda is only for the purpose of kriya. That is only for the purpose of rituals. and all other things, any other utterances or any other statements in the Upanishads or whatever it is, they are all arthavada. They are meaningless. They are to be taken as some secondary utterances and not the primary injunctions. So that is what is his opinion. Iti manyante kechit. Then he puts a final question. Karmabhyaschet param shreyah na avapyate. If the greatest good cannot happen through rituals, then the whole Vedaha anarthaka syat. The Veda itself would be useless. So he puts such a rhetorical thing. Karmabhyah chet param shreyah na avapyate. Karmabhyah param shreyah na avapyate chet. If, or in the case of, if you say that by this karma the supreme goal is not attained, then the whole Veda is meaningless. So that is what he says. Vedaha anarthaka syat. So you followed the Purva Paksha? Okay. The Siddhanti says, Siddhanti means the Vedanti who is now trying to establish the meaning of the correct meaning of the Veda. So he is replying, Na Nityatvan mokshasya Nityo hi moksha ishyate Karma karyasya anityatvam prasiddham loke
Karma karyasya
anityatvam prasiddham loke Karmabhyaschet shreyah anityam syat tacha anishtam tad yatheha karmachito lokah kshiyate iti. What does your book say? What does it say?
It's not that particular sentence.
Tad yatheha karmachito lokah kshiyate. Is it not there?
No.
Something is missing there. Tad yatheha karmachito lokah kshiyate. I'll say anyway, you repeat. Tad yatheha karmachito lokah kshiyate iti. Kshiyate iti nyayanugruhita shruti virodhat. It's also not there. Then what else is there? Oh, that is the next thing. So there is one extra line here or one line is missing there. Anyway, so this is the Siddhanti says, Nityatvan mokshasya. Moksha or liberation is something which is nitya. Nitya means something which is always there. You see, moksha is always there. Then you can say a question. Do you mean to say that I am liberated? Vedanta says, yes, you are liberated. How is it I am not liberated? I am having so much of misery. It is your own mistake. Vedanta says, it is your own mistake. You are a liberated person. You are unnecessarily tying yourself in knots. You only see you have them some clarity of thought, you think, and then you realize that you are a liberated person. So that is what Vedanta says. So Nityatvan mokshasya. Moksha is something which is always there, Only thing is you have not realized. And Vedanta gives certain examples like Swakantha Baddha Maniha Maniharavat. So some woman is having a very costly, say diamond, some jewel diamond necklace, and then she has forgotten. And then she has forgotten that she is wearing it and she is looking for it everywhere. And then suddenly somebody points out, yes, it is on your neck. So then suddenly she realizes, yes, it is on my neck. So it is like that. Swakantha Baddha Maniharavat. So Nityatvat mokshasya Nityo hi moksha ishyate. And we also want ishyate. Ishyate means desired. And we also want that the highest thing should be something which is always there, not something which comes and goes. Moksha, you see, anybody wants something which is going to stay permanently, not something which just comes and goes. So that is it. Nityo hi moksha. Any type of highest good means it should not be there for one day and it should not go away. So that highest good or highest happiness should be there forever. So that is what we also want. Whereas Swarga is something which is not nitya. You see, karma or yajna produces some Swarga. Swarga means heaven. And heaven, what is heaven? In our system is according to Vedanta, whatever is called as heaven is not something which is permanent. Say maybe, for example, at the level of religion, in other religions, let us say, in Western religions, let us say, heaven is something which is there. Heaven is something which is permanent. God is there somewhere in say heaven, and then these people who are either the believers in God or do some good deeds, they go to heaven, and then heaven means that is permanent. Whereas in Vedanta, heaven is something which is attained by some good deed, no doubt. By doing some good deeds, it is attained, no doubt. But it is a particular, it is for a particular duration only. And at another level, Vedanta also says, whatever you call Vedanta, it is only a particular happy state of mind. You see, lokyate iti lokaha, bhujyante iti janmani, that is what Shankaracharya says in his Ishavasyopanishad Bhashyam. It is not as though some sort of some place is hanging there in the sky, some sort of three-dimensional place is hanging in the sky in the form of a heaven and all that. It is a happy experiential state where you are having all nice say experiences. So that is all. So that is what is the heaven. So that is what Vedanta says. And then after that thing is over, you are again back. Even assuming that there is some sort of thing called heaven, it is something which is just it is for a duration only, and again that is proportionate to the good deeds a person has done. Suppose a person has a lot many good deeds, so he will be in that happy state for a longer duration. If he has done only some small punya, he will be in that swarga for a short period. It is something like your visa duration, or something like your bank balance. You have so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can go and stay in some nice say holiday resort and then come back. But then if you don't have that much money, you can just go there, have a coffee in some hotel and then come back. So it is like that. So the next line says, Tad yatheha karmachito lokaha kshiyate. Your text is missing it. Tat yatha iha karmachito lokaha kshiyate. This is from Chandogya Upanishad. That Upanishad says, just as this karma chito lokaha kshiyate, the karma chitaha means karmana chitaha, that which has been acquired, that which has been got by this ritual, that which has been obtained by this ritual or punya karma. By any punya karma you have attained some status. So karma chito lokaha kshiyate, that vanishes, that disappears after some time. So that is the statement of that Upanishad. Evameva amutra punya chito lokaha kshiyate. That is also there is another statement, follow-up statement, but here it is enough. Karma chito lokaha kshiyate. Whatever has been attained by karma is something which disappears after some time. It will be there for some time, it will disappear. And of course there is a story of a great king called Indradyumna. I told this story in Gita Bhashya. During Gita Bhashya I told this story, but of course I can repeat because here of course the new students may be there. So this is a story from Mahabharata. It tells about one king who had done so many good deeds, who had done so many yajnas, thousands and thousands of yajnas he had done, and then he went to heaven. So naturally, in proportion to all the good deeds, he was there in Yajna, in Swarga for a long time, dancing with all these divine damsels and then having nice drinks there in heaven and all that. He was there. Then after that, there again there is an accountant. So that accountant is keeping a watch about like your credit card, whatever it is. So the chap keeping an account, they ultimately said, yeah, your time is over, you have to go back. Then this man is surprised. No, I have done so much of punya, you see, so many good deeds I have done, I still have something. I still have something in my account. So he has a dispute with them. So then ultimately they agree, okay, let us see, let us go down to earth. If there is somebody who still remembers your name, if there is somebody who is still says, okay, this Indradyumna was a great king, he was such a judicious ruler, etc., 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 then okay, we will agree, we will keep you here for some more time. So then some small fact-finding committee they came down to earth, and then they went around inquiring with various people, and they went to the longest living people at that time. Some longest living people, there were some legendary animals which live for thousands and thousands of years. So they met such animals and then birds, etc. And then they asked, do you remember the name of Indradyumna? No, we don't remember. So ultimately one old, say, crow, so it said, no, I don't remember, but then there is another gentleman who is older than I am, that is a tortoise living in a particular lake. You please go and inquire, he may be knowing. So this fact-finding committee goes to the tortoise. So they ask, have you heard the name of Indradyumna? Then the tortoise shows in a very, it becomes nostalgic. Oh, that great man, I do remember. Because he gave so many cows, he gave so many cows as dakshina. Dakshina means donation to all types of, all people. And then hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cows were distributed. In fact, this particular lake where I am staying, this lake got formed because of because of the digging of this land, the digging of this ground by all those cows. All those cows, they moved here, and then because of the movement of those cows, it became a small pit, and then in this pit, in course of time, has become a lake, and I am staying in this lake. The fact that I am staying in this lake is because of the good deeds done by that man. So this fact-finding committee, they went back and then they said, yes, this man is still remembered on earth, so he deserves to stay there for some more time. So this is a story from Mahabharata, which says that what all you do, any good deeds you do, there is something which it has its own limitation. So ultimately, it has a limitation and you have to follow the path of jnana. That is the message. So, karma karyasya anityatvam prasiddham loke. Karma karyasya means whatever is achieved by the karma. Karma karyam means karmanaha karyam. That is whatever has been achieved by karma is anitya. It is something which is non-eternal, which is not permanent. That is prasiddham, that is well known, loke. Then karma bhyaschet shreyaha. If whatever is attained by that karma, if some shreya is attained by karma, then anityam syat. That will also become anityam. If that shreya has to be attained by karma, that will become anityam. Anitya, tacha anishtam, that is something which is not desirable. Because a human being desires something which is permanent and not something which comes and goes. Then, this line we read, tadyatheha karmachito lokaha iti, nyayanugrihita shruti virodhat. Nyayanugrihita means nyaya yukta. That is, the statement which is made here by the Chandogya Upanishad, it is perfectly logical, it is perfectly rational. Yatha iha karmachito lokaha chiyate. That is a very, very logically valid statement. That is nyayanugrihita, something which is logically valid. And whatever, if you say that karma is producing moksha, it will be shruti virodha. It is going against this particular line of the shruti. It is going against this particular statement of the shruti. Is it clear?
Yes.
If you say that karma will produce some moksha, it goes against this particular shruti. Then the Purva Pakshi gives another argument. This we have seen in the introductory bhashya also. We will read again. Kamya pratisiddhayoho anarambhat.
Kamya pratisiddhayo anarambhat.
Arabdhasya cha karmana upabhogena kshayat.
Arabdhasya cha karmana upabhogena kshayat.
Nityanusthanacha.
Nityanusthanacha.
Jnana nirapeksha eva moksha iti chet.
Jnana nirapeksha eva moksha iti chet.
Tacha na.
Tacha na.
Okay. This Purva Paksha, he says, and then says, no. Purva Paksha, what does it say? Kamya, so he says, Purva Paksha, this, what is this? Mimamsaka says, I will manage my activity in such a way that I need not bother about jnanam. I need not do shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam, etc. I will manage my karmas in a particular way. How? There are different types of karmas. This again we discussed in the introductory bhashyam. Kamya pratisiddhayoho anarambhat. Kamya karma. Kamya karma means something which is desire driven, motivated by a desire. I have to reach heaven, I have to get this, I have to get this. So the activities which are desire driven. So those things I will not do. Because if I do kamya karma, I will get some punyam. And in order to experience some punyam, I will have to take up another birth. So that means I will be perpetually in that wheel of samsara. So I will not take up kamya karma. Then pratisiddha karma I will not do. Pratisiddha means that is something which is prohibited. Because if you do a prohibited karma, you will attain sin. And in order to experience the fruit of that sin, you will have to take birth. Whether it is punyam or papam, both are bad from the point of view of a seeker. That is, one is a gold chain and another is a iron chain. One is bound by the golden chain or bound by the iron chain. It doesn't matter what the chain is, but the fellow is bound. So that is why you have to go beyond punyam and papa. So by avoiding kamya, I will avoid punya. By avoiding this prohibited action, I will avoid this sin. And by avoiding that, arabdhasya cha karmanaha upabhogena kshayat. Of this arabdha karma, you see, some past karma has given rise to this birth, and I am experiencing it in this way. I am going through this. Whatever janma I have got, I am going through this. I will slog. I am going through this. So by that karma will disappear. That karma will be exhausted. Upabhogena kshayat. By upabhoga, by experiencing it, it will be exhausted. Shaya means it will disappear. It will get exhausted. Then jnana nirapeksha eva moksha. By doing this, by managing my, and also he is saying one more thing, nityanusthanacha. This nitya karma is there. Nitya karma is say sandhyavantanam, devatarchana, and also this pancha mahayajna. Pancha mahayajna are very important in nitya karma. That is deva yajna, bhuta yajna, atithi yajna, swadhyaya yajna, that pitru yajna. So those 5 things are compulsory. So by doing that, okay, by nitya karma is again, it will say neutralize some sin, isn't it? Mamopata, Durita, etc. we say. So by that, there is some sin also will go incidentally. So by doing that, karma jnana nirapeksha eva moksha, without reference to jnana, without touching upon jnana nirapeksha, sapeksha nirapeksha. Sapeksha means being associated with something. Nirapeksha means not being associated with something. Apeksha means association. Jnana nirapeksha, without say reference to jnana itself, we can attain moksha. Jnana nirapeksha eva moksha iti chet. So this Purvapaksha is doing this argument, he is presenting this argument about management of karma in such a way that he is unaffected by all these things. Then Shankaracharya points out, no, this past karma you are saying that this past karma will be exhausted by experiencing in this life. But there is a big baggage of past karma. Only some small bit of past karma has caused you this life. What about the other big baggage? So that is what he says. So that is the argument he is going to say. Tacha na. शेषकर्म संभवात् तन्निमित्त शरीरान्तरोत्पत्ति प्राप्नोति इति प्रत्युक्तम्.
तन्निमित्त शरीरान्तरोत्पत्तिः प्राप्नोति इति प्रत्युक्तम्.
कर्मशेषस्य च नित्यानुष्ठानेन अविरोधात् क्षय अनुपपत्तिरिति च. So he is dismissing the argument of the Purvapaksha. How? Shesha karma sambhavat. Because there is a lot of pending karma. You see, thousands and thousands of earlier lives. So there is a lot of pending karma, he says. Then, tan nimitta sharirantarotpattihi. Tan nimitta. Because of that, due to that, sharirantarotpattihi. Another body. You have to take up another body. Tannimittam means Shesha Karma Nimittam. In order to exhaust that previous karma, the whole baggage of karma. So some more, another life we have to take up. Sharirantaram. Sharirantaram means another body. Another body. You prapnoti. Prapnoti means attains. Iti pratyuktam. Pratyuktam means it has already been replied. Where? In the introductory bhashya. In the introductory bhashya it has already been told. Then karma sheshasya cha nityanushthanena avirodhat. That karma shesha is there. Karma shesha means the remaining karma or balance of karma. In that balance of karma, there may be some punya, there may be some sinful activities, there may be many good activities also. So nitya karma may to some extent neutralize the sinful activities, but nitya karma will not neutralize the good activities. So these two reinforce. These two reinforce, and then again it will force you to have another birth. So Nitya Karma may negate or neutralize the sinful activities of the past, but Nitya Karma cannot negate or neutralize the good activities. Nitya Karma will not destroy Punya. Nitya Karma may destroy Papam, but Nitya Karma will not destroy Punyam. It will add to that Punyam. So that is it. Nityanushthanena karma sheshasya cha nityanushthanena avirodhat. These two are not opposing. These two are not contradicting. If they are contradicting, then they nullify. Plus and minus, if they are, they will nullify. But it is not so. They are plus and plus only. So avirodhat kshaya anupapattihi. So what you say that it will decline, that thing will be exhausted, it will not happen. Anupapatti. It will not happen. It doesn't happen. Anupapattihi iti cha. Then another point he says, yaduktam, the Purvapakshi again says, yaduktam samasta vedartha jnanavataha karmadhikarad ityadi tacha na श्रुतज्ञान व्यतिरेकाद उपासनस्य Okay. Then Purvapakshi had told one more point. What is that? Yaduktam samasta vedartha jnanavataha karmadhikarat. You see, karmadhikara is for a person who knows the meaning of the entire Veda. Entire Veda means including Upanishad. Karmadhikara, that is the eligibility and also the responsibility for doing a ritual, for doing a karma, is only for someone who has understood the meaning of the whole Veda. Not the whole meaning of Veda, but the meaning of the whole Veda. Whole Veda means including the Upanishad. So, karmadhikara ityadi, tachana, even that is not correct. Because in the school or in the Gurukula, let us say, in the Gurukula, the student has spent about 8 years or 10 years spent learning the whole, how many pannas of Veda? 82 pannas, whatever it is. So many pannas of Veda, that is the whole 8 mandalas of Veda, let us say. He has learnt the whole Veda. Then, after the 8 mandalas only, Rigveda only is 10 mandalas, but what about other Vedas? They are also there. So he has, anyway, let us not calculate that. He has learnt all the Vedas. And also he has learnt the literal meaning of these things. He has learnt the literal meanings. That is something like you go to a physics class and then you have done physics or chemistry class and then you have studied, read it, you have understood it, but you have not done the practicals. So it is like that. So in Upanishads they say Bhur Bhuvasvaha iti Vyahrutayah. There is something which is a Vyahruti, Bhuhu is a Vyahruti, Bhuvaha is a Vyahruti. And then you have to suspend your identity, individual identity. You have to meditate on Bhuhu, you have to meditate on Bhuvaha, you have to meditate on Suvaha, etc., etc. All that has been told. He has only known that, one has to do this, but he has not done. That is it. Ritual, knowing the meaning of a ritual is something. Knowing a ritual means, you have to put this, you have to erect this fireplace in this particular shape. You have this fireplace, Vedi, Yajna Vedi we call it. There are some Yajnas where the Yajna Vedi is round. There are some Vedis in which the Yajna Vedi is triangular in shape. Another one which is a pentagon in shape. Another Vedi which is something like a hawk shaped. That is what is called Siena Yaga, hawk shaped. It is in the shape of a hawk. Then like that, it is in different shapes. And then in what manner it has to be erected, and what are the things which have to be offered into that fire. All those things are specified. There is nothing much to understand there. There is nothing, you say, 1 kilo of ghee, 1 kilo of ghee. You have put it in a triangular form. There is nothing much to be learnt except constructing that particular Yajna Vedi. But here, where it is talks about Upasana, or the next stage is, after that Upasana, it says, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, etc., etc. All those things he has not gone into. He has, as a student, he has only read, he has only studied and understood the meaning of Veda, that's all. He has not practiced. So that is what Shankaracharya is going to say. Samasta Vedartha Jnanavataha Karmadhikara Ityadi Tachya Na Shrutajnana Vyatirekad Upasanasya. This Upasana, here the word Upasana is also including what we call Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So we know that in Vedanta there are 3 levels. Once you come to karma, about karma, there is only one level. You just follow the text and then you put the darbha in this direction, you put the darbha in that direction, or you go it in a clockwise way, do it in a clockwise way or anti-clockwise way. Depending on that, you do that. But whereas here, there is what is called Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Mananam means, suppose the Vedanta says about Upasana. Upasana bhuhu bhuvaha suvaha. This bhuhu is a upasana. Upasana is a mananam. There you have to expand your individual self. You see, you have to go beyond your body-mind complex, and you have to realize that every second you are depending on the external universe. Every second, whatever air is inside you is there outside. Every second you have to realize that whatever food is there in your body is the same food which has come from outside. So you are not different from the other, you are not different from the universe. So it is something like, I give the Vedanta gives the example of the wave and the sea. Wave realizes that it is not different from the sea. From one point of view, wave is different from the sea. But wave realizes that it is not, that it has no independent existence, it is the sea itself. So like that, this mananam means thinking, that visualization, thinking, all that thing is involved there. And then nididhyasanam, you have to actualize it. Nididhyasanam is actualization. This Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, they are the 3-level or 3-tier process in learning. That is, Shravanam means understanding the meaning of the Veda. That is the primary level. So that is what the student has done here. The student, by staying in the Gurukula, he has understood the meaning of the Veda. So Shravanam. Then Manana and Nididhyasana. Mananam means recapitulation, logically validating it. Manana means logically validating. Then Nididhyasana is actualizing it. Mananam, you are logically thinking about various pros and cons. Okay, in this contingency, how is it? In this contingency, how is it? You put all questions and all that, and then get answers. You are convinced. Ultimately, you are convinced. And you are in that state of awareness. You are in that state of realization. That is what is called actualization. Nididhyasana. So these 3 levels. So Shrutagnana Vyatireka Upasanasya. This Upasana, which includes this Manana and Nididhyasana, is something which is distinct from mere Shrutagnana. Mere Shrutagnana is Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, you know that, you remember that line. Upanishad says, Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nididhyasitavyaha. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shrutagnana means only Shravanam. The next 2 levels are not included. So that is what he is pointing out. Merely knowing the meaning is good enough for karmanushthanam. Merely knowing the meaning of a particular mantra or some meaning, knowing the procedure is good enough for karmanushthanam, for doing a ritual. But for upasana is something, it is a higher level. That is what he says. Shrutagnana matrena hi
Shrutagnana matrena hi
karmanyadhikriyate na upasanam apekshate. Fine. Okay, Shrutagnana matrena hi. By merely Shrutagnana, by merely knowing the meaning of the text, one becomes eligible for competent also. One he becomes eligible and also competent for karma, for doing a ritual, by knowing the literal meaning. Na upasanam apekshate. He doesn't require this upasana in order to perform karma. In order to perform karma, he doesn't need this upasana jnanam, but he needs literal meaning, knowledge of the literal meaning. That's all. Then upasanam cha, there is some note which is here by Achyuta Krishna. What is this note? Upasana jnanam apekshate. Shrutagyanam mananadya karmaka upasana tacheshosya shankara shrutagyanam atram apekshate. Yeah, this note here, it is there. Anena samavartanat prag urdhvam va vedanta shravanam sarvesham avasyakamiti suchyate. So, of course, this note, Subramanya Shastri is giving a note saying that this whole text implies that samavartanat prag, before say he comes back home from this convocation. Now we are in the level of convocation, isn't it? So when before he comes back home from this convocation ceremony, he has to have knowledge of Vedanta also. That is what it gamyate. Prag urdhvam va Vedanta shravanam sarvesham avasyakam. For everyone, Vedanta jnanam is avasyakam. Iti suchyate. It is indicated here that for everybody, this Vedanta jnana, at least the literal meaning. The literal meaning of this Vedanta is needed for everybody. So that is what Krishna was telling, say, Arjuna in Gita. So anyway, so upasanam cha, okay, let us read. Upasanam cha श्रुतज्ञानाद् अर्थान्तरं विधीयते
श्रुतज्ञानात् अर्थान्तरं विधीयते
मोक्षफलम्
मोक्षफलम्
अर्थान्तरप्रसिद्धश्च प्रसिद्धश्च स्यात्.
अर्थान्तरप्रसिद्धेश्च स्यात्.
Is it prasiddhescha or prasiddhascha?
प्रसिद्धेश्च.
That seems to be better. Arthantara-prasiddhescha syat. Okay. Let us further. Shrotavyah ityuktva
श्रोतव्यः इति इत्युक्त्वा
तद्व्यतिरेकेण मन्तव्यो निदिध्यासितव्य इति
मन्तव्यो निदिध्यासितव्य इति
यत्नान्तरविधानात् मनन निदिध्यासनयोश्च प्रसिद्धं श्रवणज्ञानाद् अर्थान्तरत्वम्. So he has made a distinction between Shravana at one level, Manana Nididhyasana at another level. There are 3 points, there are 3 levels. So one is the basic level or primary level of knowing the meaning. The other is deliberating on that, logical validation, and then staying in that state of awareness. So that is different. So upasanam cha shrutagyanad arthantaram vidhiyate. Upasana, everywhere you see in the text, Shrutagyanat Arthantaram. Arthantaram means it is totally different topic. It is for a totally different purpose. And what is the purpose? Moksha phalam. Shrutagyanat Arthantaram vidhiyate moksha phalam. This Shravana is good enough for ritual. But Mananam and Nididhyasana are needed for moksha. So Arthantaram vidhiyate, totally a different object, a totally different goal, let us say, a totally different goal is prescribed there. And what is that goal? Moksha phalam. Shrutagyanad Arthantaram, a totally different purpose. Vidhiyate. Vidhiyate means it is being specified by the text. Vidhi, it is being specified. What is that vidhi? Moksha phalam. You will be attaining that moksha, you will be attaining that realization. So moksha phalam, then arthantara prasiddhascha syat. The arthantara prasiddhescha seems to be better. That is arthantara prasiddhe. That is this arthantaram. That the purpose is totally different. The purpose of Shravana is different. Purpose of Mananam and Nididhyasana is different. That is so well known. Arthantara prasiddhescha syat. Arthantara prasiddhi. It is so well known that the 2 goals they are different. The goal of Manana Nididhyasana is different from the goal of Shravana. So that is it. Shravana makes a man competent for ritual, but this is making him eligible for realization. Then Shrotavyah ityuktva, and the text, he is quoting the text, having told Shrotavyah, then ityuktva tadvyatirekena. Tadvyatirekena means as distinct from that. In addition to that, or as distinct from that is better. As distinct from that, tadvyatirekena mantavyah nididhyasitavyah iti. So the text is also saying mantavyah, you have to do mananam, nididhyasitavyah, you have to do nididhyasanam iti. Yatnantara vidhanat. The text is saying about 2 different strategies. Yatnantaram. Yatna is prayatna. Prayatna means effort or a strategy, let us say. Shravanam is one level. The yatnantaram is mananam and nididhyasanam. 2 different strategies. Vidhanat. Vidhanat means because it has been prescribed. Then manana nididhyasanayoscha prasiddham Shravanajnanad arthantaratvam. Shravanajnana has a different purpose. Manana nididhyasana have a different purpose. It is well known. Prasiddham. So manana nididhyasana prasiddham. That is the arthantaratvam prasiddham. That is that Shravana and Manana give a different result. It is so well known. Different result from what Shravanam can give. Manana and Nididhyasana will give a totally different result from what Shravanam can give. So it is so well known. Then let us see. Then he is coming to the Purvapakshi is coming to the second option. The first option is now over. That is Kevalebhyah Karmabhyah. That option is over. Now he is coming to the second option. The second option is Karma as primary and knowledge as secondary. Ritual as primary and knowledge as secondary. So that we are going to see. Evam tarhi Vidya savyapekshebhyah karmabhyah syan mokshah.
Vidya savyapekshebhyah karmabhyah syan mokshah.
Vidya sahitanam cha karmanam bhavet karyantararambha samarthyam
कार्यान्तरारम्भ सामर्थ्यं
यथा
यथा
स्वतो मरण ज्वरादिकार्यारम्भ सामर्थ्यानामपि
यथा स्वतो मरणज्वरादि
कार्यारम्भ सामर्थ्यानामपि
कार्यारम्भसामर्थ्यानपि
समर्थानपि also is okay. विषदध्यादीनां
विषदध्यादीनां
मन्त्रशर्करादिसंयुक्तानां
मन्त्रशर्करादिसंयुक्तानां
कार्यान्तरारम्भसामर्थ्यम्
कार्यान्तरारम्भसामर्थ्यम्
एवं विद्यासहितैः कर्मभिः
एवं विद्यासहितैः कर्मभिः
मोक्ष आरभ्यते इति चेत्
मोक्ष आरभ्यते इति चेत्
up to this point is Purvapasha. So the Purvapashi is saying, okay, you have totally dismissed the possibility that by mere karma alone you can attain moksha. You have dismissed that possibility. Now I am saying, okay, I will add that vidya also as some small addition. So when you add something, you are following a particular strategy, you just add some value addition. You do some small value addition and it will give a different result. So he gives an example, some domestic example, let us say, an ordinary example. Yatha swataha, I will explain the whole sentence. For example, poison is there. Poison itself is deadly. But poison, if it is mixed with something else, or if it is associated with some little bit of mantra, along with mantra it is given, poison is given, that is going to do some good. Maybe in those days when all these people who were very, very efficient in mantra, shastra and all that, probably they had that eligibility, that power. So with that mantra, in association with mantra, he gives some poison and that is good for health. Even nowadays, even we see that poison in very, very small doses is supposed to be very good. Poison in small doses is said to be good. So anyway, Marana Jvaradi Karyaram, you see, and another example is Dadhi. Dadhi means curd. Curd, at some points of time, at some point of the day, it is not good. I am not very sure when it is. This note also it has not given. Maybe the Ayurveda Pandits will know. The Ayurveda scholars will know when, at what point of time the curd is good and at what point of time it can cause you fever. Dadhi can cause fever. You see, poison can cause death, dadhi can cause fever. But then, by doing some value addition, what is that? In the case of poison, you are adding mantra. In the case of dadhi, in the case of curd, you are adding some sugar. If you add some sugar to this, and if you add some mantra to poison, you are getting a totally different result. Those two things, which are otherwise negative, they will turn out to be positive. So that is what is the example of this Purvapakshi. So evam tarhi, if that is so, evam tarhi means if that is so, what is so? That is with exclusively karma is something which is negated. When you take that, when you say like that, then vidya savyapekshebhyah karmabhyah. That is, vidya is associated with karma. That means vidya is secondary and karma is primary. Vidya savyapekshebhyah karmabhyah. By the such karmas, Syan mokshaha. Mokshaha syat. Let us accept that we will attain moksha. Let it be so. Syat. Let it be so. Then, vidya sahitanam cha karmanam bhavet. So when vidya is associated with these karmas, vidya sahitanam cha karmanam. When vidya is associated with this karma, then bhavet, it will so happen what? Karyantara arambha samarthyam bhavet. Bhavet karyantararambha samarthyam. So it will produce a totally different result. Karma alone will give a particular result. It is something like, karma alone is something like poison, let us say. Poison is going to cause death. So similarly, karma alone is going to give you some anitya, some non-eternal thing. So karma, a little bit of vidya you have added, it is going to give a totally different thing. Like you have added this mantra to the poison. So like that, karyantara arambha samarthyam. Karyantaram means a totally different effect, a totally different result. Karya antara, that is a totally different result. Karyam, you can take it as result instead of effect, result also. A totally different result it will give. Mere poison gives a different result. Poison and mantra gives a different result. Similarly, mere karma gives one result. karma associated with what is this vidya gives a totally different result. So that is the point. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So karyantararambha samarthyam. Yatha swataha means by itself. Yatha swataha maranajvaradi karyarambha samarthyanam api vishadadhyadinam visham and dadhi, that is poison and say curd. Swataha, by themselves, marana jvaradi karyarambha samarthyam. One gives maranam, another gives say jvaram. That is, one leads to death and other leads to fever. So when that is so, mantra sharkaradi sanyuktanam, if you associate them with this mantra or sharkara, if you associate them with some chanting of a mantra, say japa of a mantra, or you add some sharkara in the, sharkara means sugar, in the ghee, not ghee, in that curd, then karyantararambha samarthyam, it will produce a totally different result. Likewise, you add vidya to karma, you get a wonderful result. So that is what he says, karyantararambha samarthyam. Evam, in the same manner, vidya sahitaih karmabhihi moksha arabhyate. So if you just add a little bit of vidya sahitaih karmabhihi, then moksha will be there. Your moksha arabhyate iti chet na. So we will see the Siddhanta tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.